Yeah, and then we did it at Mr. Henry's night club,
yes.
which had a like what 12-foot square stage. You know.
It's nice that some of those things endured that way.
I was going to say I got an audition story, believe it or not. I was a freshman, and I heard it. Then I done high school musicals and all that, and I heard about this mask and bauble, and I thought, well, I'll go over and see what's going on. So it was for the auditions for Come Back Little Phoenix, I think. And I wandered into this stage one, and I just looked around and I thought, God, what a dump. I sat down and I watched these great auditions. Andrea, I had to fill out a little card to get in. Andrea Orem, Dan Ortmeyer, and these guys were really putting it out, and I thought, well, the place may be a dump, but there's lots of talent. And all of a sudden, Don Murphy says, okay, John Gore. And everybody looked at it, so I thought, well, I guess I gotta get up and read something, so I got up. And Bryan was at the piano, and he said, what song have you prepared? I said, what song have you got? He looked at the only song I knew was Second Hand Rose. So I got out there in front of all these people, and I sang Second Hand Rose. And first of all, it started out too high. So in the middle of singing, I said to Bryan, it's too high, and he took it down. And I kept plugging away, and everything was going great till I got to the line. And even Jake the plumber, he's the man I adore. And that was the end of my acting career.
I think something that people have said in different ways, and I think is probably a thread through all of this, and certainly in Calliope, was we did things that we didn't know we couldn't do, that we didn't know how to do, and we just went out and did it because it needed done. And I think that DBM was behind a lot of that. I was involved in costumes for a little thing called Paradise Lost and Found.
There you go.
And I think it was the opening scene that said, Heavenly Host. Okay, anybody that didn't see the show? How do you costume Heavenly Host? Any ideas? Huh? But we got a lot of, blue and green fabric, and we just sort of threw it at people, and they had to be different. We didn't want them all the same, but there had to be a theme. And then we threw Adam and Eve out of the garden, and there was a carnival for some reason involved in that. And so everybody turned into a carnival, and Adam and Eve happened to have a maid. But they were also animals because we had the creation of the world going on here, right? So I took Debbie Dean,
Right.
put her in a kangaroo outfit that was very sexy because she wanted something sexy. So it just had the tail came over her shoulder and it was strapless and, because her boyfriend was going to be in the audience. And then when we got to the carnival, I made her part of the basketball toss. And underneath her apron, there was a part that pulled out and was the hoop. And the basketball went through her legs. And I asked somebody to build that. That's the sort of thing that we did because we didn't know we couldn't do it. I sent my dear roommate, who did have a lot of sewing background, home to make a 3-piece red corduroy suit, a man's suit, for the devil, for Jack and Joan, over Easter. She had to go back to Chicago. I said, take this with you and do it. That's the sort of thing that we did because we didn't know we couldn't. And I think that's because he never saw anything that we couldn't do.
One of the passion that people had to do things. And while we had a lot of fun, we were kind of serious, maybe, and competitive about it, especially when it came to the school with the drama school and the graduate program, Catholic University. So, and also Washington was a small enough town there then that they would actually send people to review our shows, and it would appear in the style section. So you can imagine the glee when we open up the newspaper and there part of the headline is Michigan Avenue, pull up your socks. Because our musical that we had done, which was One Sleepless Night, I think, that year, was far, I think the quote was something about far more creative, and it was better.
Yeah.
And we were just so proud of ourselves for that. But it wasn't, it was because we weren't getting credit for what we were doing. We were doing it because we loved it. We weren't in a program. We were doing it because it was fun and we wanted to create things. And so to get that kind of recognition, I think was even more inspiring for a lot of us.
Right, but then I went to Catholic U for grad school, and they never forgave us. Really.
That title was CU Lax GU Zip.
That's right. That's right.
I recall after graduating and having become used to the Calliope shows and the other shows we did, and then I would, in the next 5 years or so, I would go to various, have the opportunity to go to various other productions at colleges, often grad schools. I went to see an opera at Indiana University, which has a big deal opera thing, and I went to a number of other things. And my general reaction each of those times was, well, they're like doing the same thing we were doing. It's not all that superior. And when I think back at what we were doing here at Calliope with Donn, with no money, no theater program, no theater, and really just amateurs, nursing students, pre-med students. These aren't people who are, came to Georgetown with the idea of going into college, or going into the theater as a profession. Some did, of course, but most of us did not. And yet we were producing these shows that I later learned were at an extraordinarily high level of proficiency, both with respect to a lot of the technical things and especially the acting, and of course the directing was something that Donn has taught me to appreciate in all kinds of theater that I see today. So the level of what we were producing, I now know, was just, there's no reason for it, except for that man.
Well, I think
I'd
also,
like to, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
it's like, if you look at this, a lot of this stuff was done 50 years ago, 40 years ago. And yet here we are all sitting around together talking about it. I graduated in 1970. My wife graduated in 72. We haven't been to a single Georgetown reunion. But by God, we would come to this.
I'd like to share a brief thought that was really kind of has been rolling around in my head in anticipation of this weekend. And I was class of 72, and I think that the times had something to do with everybody's passion about M&B. When I was in the first draft lottery to see who would be the next to go over to Vietnam, and so all the male students, at least, were wrestling with a time when any or all of us could be sent off to war as soon as we left, as soon as we graduated, and so so that put additional kind of pressure on college students trying to find him or herself. And looking back on my MNB experience, I realized that part of what I feel I got out of MNB and part of what I got out of Don Murphy's artistic generosity was a feeling that life could be made sense of, excuse the grammar, but that the search for meaning felt at the time particularly intense. And yet M&B, and we used to joke that people would come, if you had 10 minutes between class, you'd just go hang out at stage one. And it was the center of our universe for several years. And it really was, it just gave us so much in terms of convincing us that we could make sense of our universe, could have an effect on our universe at that time. It was just, it meant a lot to me.
Absolutely.
Frank?
It was a refuge.
One of the reasons why I organized this weekend was because I had this very powerful memory in 1970 of Kent State. We had closed, I'm going to cry when I tell you this, we had closed Calliope. If I had a yardstick, I could roll the world, which was about robots taking over, about right-wing extremists, about a political candidate that became corrupt. And there were 4 kids were killed at Kent State. We shut down the campus. We brought back Calliope for a performance on Copley's desk. And this incredible tyrant of a professor, Carol Quigley, tried to stop us. Carol Quigley. And Don Murphy stared him down and said, "We are doing something about Kent State." "What are you doing?" "We are doing something about Kent State." And we did that number. The whole campus was in front of us. Everybody came running. We did this big, powerful anti-war number, and I'll never forget that.
Yeah, me neither.
Never forget that.
That's right.
We were connected to the students. The campus was ringed by National Guards. Every 4 feet, there was a National Guardsman. We were like kept captive on campus. Bands were shut down, and we were doing a song from Bryan Williams' Calliope.
A National Guardsman holding a rifle with a fixed bayonet.
Yes, fixed bayonets. Every 4 feet around the entire campus, from Reservoir Road to the Canal Street. There was the National Guards. And we were there singing a Calliope number. And that's the reason, one of the reasons why I wanted to organize this weekend. Because that image has never left me. Never left me. And all these people that were here, Jack and Donna and Lynn and Stephanie was one of the robots, and so was Lynn. And it's just like, it was one of the most powerful experiences of my life. And I knew that by bringing back these people together again, we could remember those days and remember Don. But I remember Don staring down Carol Quigley. Nobody stared down.
Stares down Don Murphy either, because they don't have to. He always finds a way to make the world work without a lot of confrontation in it. So we're coming to the end of this portion of the program, and we have to go get ready for the evening's extravaganza. But I think on behalf of everybody in this room, Don, I just want to say thank you, because all of the things we get to talk about because you created the environment for us to do it in. So
We love you, Dr. Murphy.
We have two brief announcements. First of all, we're going to do a photo up here, so make your way down here. We're going to take a group shot with Don in the center. And also, Megan wants to make an announcement.
Yes, if anyone has any desire to go see Paulton, see where stage 1 was, I'm going to be in the lobby. We'll get a group, and I'll go open the space for people to take a look around.
Come down for a photo. We're going to do a quick photo.
I want to say one more thing, though, because I think we owe a round of applause to Frank Tillman. When he called me and said, "Oh, I see you're going to be 80. Could we do something?" I thought it was going to be like some kind of little dinner, and I think that he put together this whole day as well.
Come on down.
Frank, let's leave these tables for you to remind everybody.